Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 9.6 Notes, Day 2. Today we're talking about graphing piecewise functions. So remember, the first thing that we need to do is graph the vertex or the initial point of each function lightly and draw each function. Erase the piece of each function that is not within the given domain, and then to make sure the endpoints of the function follow the same rules of the inequalities. You might be asking, well, what are those? So remember that if we are using the less than or greater than symbol, that it needs to be open, and greater than or less than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, that's when it's closed. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 1. Oh, and if you have questions about those, look at your 9.6 notes video. It will help you out a lot. Okay, so looking at our top equation, the first thing that I notice is that it's going to be an absolute value and that it is reflected. So my graph is going to look something like that. Now I need my vertex. My vertex is -3, 2. Remember, we take the opposite and this stays the same. And when I get to my endpoint, this is what I need to be paying attention to. I know that this is going to tell me it is open, but we'll worry about that in a little bit. Let's graph our equation right there. So at -3, 2, I'm right there. And let's graph. Down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. And that pattern just goes on and on and on forever. Now on the right, we're going down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. And just keeps on going. But what is our domain telling us? That x has to be greater than or equal to this line. It's going to be less than. So everything to the left is good, everything to the right, bad. Okay, so I can erase that, but then that point right there that I just erased, that point needs to be open. Okay, and make sure when you're graphing it that we can really tell that it is open. All right, let's look at the bottom equation. So once again, the first thing that I notice is that it's a square root. Okay, and it's reflected again. So a square root graph goes down like that. For square root, we need an initial point, and that's going to be -1, -2. Once again, we take the opposite, and this stays the same. And pardon me, our domain right there, it's telling me that it's closed. So let's go ahead and start graphing. At -1, -2, I know I am closed, and then I follow the pattern, which is down 1, right 1, down 1, right 3. And there we go. So that's our graph. Now let's take a look at what it's asking us. Find the value of f of -5. So at -5 right here, what does x equal? Yeah, it equals 0. All right, that's one done. Let's move on to the next one. Number 2. So looking at our top equation, it is it's a quadratic, okay? And it's a positive quadratic, so our graph's going to go up. My vertex is -4, -3, and then I'm going to be closed at -3. All right, so let's go ahead and start graphing that. So once again, at -4, -3, I go up 1, over 1, up 3, over 1, and I'm going to do that in both directions. Now, my line is at -3. This is where I need to start paying attention. And once again, I'm going to the left on my first graph because it's less than. So everything over there, I need to erase that and that. But then I'm closed so I can keep that point. Okay. Now, the only thing I'm going to change on mine is I'm just going to make sure mine is a little more rounded. Okay. Because that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be round and not sharp like a absolute value. Oh, speaking of absolute values, there we go. Must have known we were talking about them. Okay, so I see that it is, yeah, it's reflected, so it's going to be going down. This is going to be open. And then our vertex is -3, -1. So -3, -1, I'm going to be open there. I know that I'm open there because that is our domain. It's at -3. Okay, so let's go ahead and just graph a couple points. I'm going to the right. And then once I'm done with that, I can just graph it. Oh, that doesn't look very straight. Miss Carranza would be quite upset with me if she saw that. All right, there we go. Much better. Okay, and now we have to answer the question. Find the value of f of -1. So when I'm at -1, what do we get? Yeah, that's -3. All right, let's see how you guys do with the top equation. Okay, let's just go through it real quick that it's a quadratic, so it's going to be a parabola, and it's reflected. It's going to be open, and then our vertex is at 2, 5. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Okay, so that's the graph that I got for the first part. And like, well, Mr. Grice, why did your graph stop right there? Well, looking at my domain, okay, my domain is at 0, so that's why I'm open. And I wanted everything greater than that. So everything to the right is where my graph is. Okay, let's look at the next one. So my next one is, oh, this is a linear. And remember, linear is going to make a straight line. It's positive, and my slope is 3 over 1. And then where I start is at 0, -1. Okay, and we're going to be closed. All right, let's take a look at this. So at 0, -1, which is right here, I'm closed. And then I would go up 3 over 1, but I don't need that information. So I have to do the opposite of what my slope says. And there we go. That should be enough points. And then, yes, use your straight edge to graph. Oh, let's do that one more time. My thing moved. There we go. Okay, so where are we looking at? Yeah, we're looking at 2. So when we plug in 2, f of 2, isn't that it right there? We should get 5. Good job. All right, number 4. Let's see if you guys can graph the 2 of those on your own. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. Just in case you need a couple of pointers, there you go. Okay, so there we go. Where our graph is splitting is right there at 4. Okay, so for the quadratic, I wanted the exponential. I wanted, oh my gosh, Mr. Grice is all bleh exponential. Come on. All right, so for the linear, we want everything that is less than or equal to 4. And unfortunately, I found another mistake that this is supposed to say greater or equal to 4. Yeah, and yours says 8. Well, at least my video said 8. So that's what our graph should be looking like. Now, find the value of f of 5. When we plug in 5 right there, we get the number 1. Okay, let's go ahead and flip it over. All right, let's do 2 together, and then we're going to do 2 on our own. Okay, so looking at number 5, we'll do number 5 together. You'll do number 6 alone. We'll do number 7 together, and you'll do number 8 alone. Okay, so number 5, it's reflected. Yeah, and we're talking about absolute value. So my graph is going to look something like that. My vertex is -2, 5, and then we're going to be closed. Okay. Now I'm just going to write some notes on the second one. So I've got a quadratic and it's reflected, so it's going to be going down. My vertex is going to be at 2, -3. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and graph that information. We're going to start with the absolute value. I'm starting at -2, 5. I'm going down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. Okay, so that's what it should look like, but where is my limit? What's the domain telling me? Yeah, my domain is at 1, right? Okay, so here's 1. I want everything to the right of that, and that point needs to be closed, which it is. Perfect. So there we go. And now we have to graph our parabola. And our vertex was at 2, -3, so at 2, -3, there I am. Down 1, over 1, down 3, over 1. And same thing, I'm looking at that domain, and I don't need that number. And my last point over there needs to be open. So there you go. So at -4, I get the number, what? Yeah, 3. Do you guys want me to write the notes for our next one to help you? Let's do it together. Okay, so I notice that it's an absolute value and it's being reflected, so it's going down. We need to be open at 0, and then our vertex is -1, -6. Okay. Our next one, we have a square root being reflected, and our initial point is -1, +2. Okay. So, and then we're going to be closed. All right, so just pay attention that this is where the domain's at. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and good luck. Okay, so this is what we should have gotten. And I know it's kind of funky, but our initial point for our square root was not included. I hope you erased it. But we needed it to figure out what the pattern was. Okay, so at -2, when we plug in -2, we get all the way down there, -7. All right. Let's go ahead and write down all of our information. So our first graph appears a linear, and it's positive, so it'll look something like that. I need my slope, which is 4/1, and my y-intercept is 0, 2, and I'm going to be open. Okay, so at 0, 2, I'm open. Following my slope, I go 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. 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 That's enough. And let's go ahead and draw it. Sorry, I'm waiting to line up my ruler. There we go. Now my limit right here, the domain, is at 2. So that's my last point that I just drew. And I need to be, excuse me, open there. All right, and now let's look at our last one, or the last one, the bottom one, which is an absolute value. We are closed. And then our vertex is at 3, -6, okay? I'm just going to kind of draw that so I know where to start or stop. So at 3, -6, I'm right here. I'm closed, and then I just go the other direction. And there we go. Let's just connect the points. And that's what our graph should look like. All right, so at 4, right here, I come down, and my answer is at -5. All right, number 8, all on your own. I'm not helping you one bit. Go ahead and pause the video, and good luck. All right, and there you go. So I think that's the first time that we've had 2 parabolas, at least in, yeah, that was the first time, not including homework, because I don't have the homework in front of me. But there you go. So if you guys have any questions, please come in for help. We know this can be a little bit tricky, but this is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra Unit 9.6 Notes, Day 2. Remember, your homework is practice B down here. Okay. Ooh, it looks like you guys get to write a function yourself. That's going to be fun. Okay, so if you need help, you know where to find us. This is Mr. Grice signing off. Thanks for watching.